All right, guys, welcome back to the Clack Shack. And no, I'm not inside tonight. I'm out here playing with some new computer programs and stuff that I have and trying out some things. I know Steve's going to accuse me of being a gear junkie, but I got me a new microphone, which is a shotgun mic, so I don't have to wear the little portable mic. And I've got my GoPro set up, and I'm running Streamlabs on the new laptop just to see how it does doing this record. I'm also going to be doing screen capture in this video to kind of show you guys a few things, questions that I keep getting about Lightburn, and just hope this helps. Like I said, it's not a lot, but these are some very, very popular questions that I get asked, some on a daily basis. So we're going to kind of call this Cliff Notes for Lightburn, and I'm going to kind of just go through this really shallow. This is not going to be a deep video on Lightburn. There's a lot of really great tutorials out there for Lightburn on almost every aspect that you can think of. These are just some of the frequently asked questions that I get, and kind of want to go over those for you just to help that out and kind of stave that off for now. So I'm going to get on over to the screen capture. Here we are in the screen cap, guys. Welcome to my world of Lightburn. All right. One of the things you'll probably notice, and this is a big deal to me, is I've got my art library set up. And when you first start setting up these art libraries, guys, people ask me all the time how to do it and how to go in and set those up. But the one thing that I will tell you is when you start using libraries, make sure to kind of categorize these things. When I started out, I only had one art library, and as I accumulated designs, it got really hard to find everything. So go ahead, save yourself some trouble, and go ahead and categorize these things out as you're creating them. That way you don't have to go back like I did later on and try to fix it. So the way you're going to create a library, and I'll just kind of walk you through this, the process of creating one. So first thing, I want to put me a rooster over here in my workspace. And I'm going to pretend that this is something that I either created or downloaded and moved into the workspace in Lightburn. So let me get this back on absolute coordinates. All right, so I've got a rooster in the workspace, and let's pretend you do not have a art library at all. The first step is going to be to go over here to New, and you're going to want to create an art library. Now, this is where you name it. So we're going to name this Training. All right, and then you'll save that. All right, once you save it, if you only have one, it'll automatically connect to the one that you've named Training. The way you will get graphics from here into here is pretty simple. You just select the graphic, and once you do, go down here to this little button right here, Import Graphic from Project, and then you're going to name it, and I'm going to name this Rooster, and hit OK. Now, Rooster has been now moved over into the art library, so technically we can delete him from here. If we want to put him back in, we can pull from over there. Now, thing to remember, art library items, when you take those over and put them in your library, if you make them really, really big, all right, and we're going to import this one, and we're going to call this Huge Rooster. This was one of those things that I had to learn the hard way. All right. Now, in the event that you're working in your workspace and you decide you want a rooster, if you put him in the art library as a huge rooster, he's going to be a huge rooster when you bring him back in. So, whatever size you want them to be when you bring them in, make sure that that's the size they are when you put them in your library. Now, if you get ready to remove stuff, like let's say you did actually create a huge rooster, you can just right click and delete, and it's going to ask you to confirm, and you say yes. Now we don't have a huge rooster, we have a normal sized rooster. So, and if you wanted to delete that guy, same thing, right click, delete. It's going to ask, are you sure? And you can say yes. And then, like I said, the only deal is these you cannot necessarily delete from here. They're going to save to wherever you have that those lists saved to, but you can unload it. Then you have to go into your computer, and basically you would go into wherever This one I created in my downloads folder, so it's going to get purged eventually, but you would actually have to go into your downloads to delete that. If not, it's going to still be hanging out on your computer somewhere. But that is the art library function. One of the other questions that I get asked a lot is framing speed. Framing speed is right here. You'll notice that I have my machine set to millimeters per second. That is a personal preference. I am more than aware that millimeters per minute was created for diodes and all that stuff. But the faster diode machines become, in the early days, 2.5 watt diodes had to go really, really slow to do things because they were not very powerful. And so that's why millimeters per minute was kind of a necessity, because there was a big variation in the speed. But as they become more powerful, millimeters per second becomes more of a usable format. And I prefer it because that's how I learned it, and that's what I use. So before you point out to me that, that's what you're supposed to be using, millimeters per minute, I'm aware of what most people do, but that is not what I prefer. So anyway, I recommend setting your framing speed to 50. Now, depending on what you're doing, you can speed things up, but 50 is a good happy number. It's not too fast, not too slow. If you're framing something really big, it can be a little bit slow, and you may want to tap it up a little bit. But if you look right here and you hover over the frame button, it tells you there speed is taken from the move panel setting, or Alt R. So that's where it's at right there. You can change that, and that changes your framing speed. So that's a big one that I get asked a lot. Another thing that people ask a lot is, if you notice, I've got all of my profiles for my machines loaded into this computer. I exported them from my other machine and just imported them here to avoid having to do this. Even though I don't have any machines in the house, I do design a lot in here, and so that's kind of convenient. So I'm just going to show you on my Xtool D1 standard. This is some of the questions that I get asked a lot. I'm going to go to my device settings for it. And if you'll notice right here, I have the return to finish position set to 1-1. And that's because this machine does not have limit switches, and it makes it a lot more convenient when doing jigged items. It just keeps it from bumping the rails and causing problems. All right, you can go to each one of my machines. Here's my LM3. Okay, there's the LM3. And yes, it will flip graphics because the origin of the machine is different. If you go to device settings on my LM3, you'll notice that I've got my return to finish position set to 20 and 370. That's partially because I have the Congro 20 watt module on there, and it does take up significantly more room than the original LM3 module. And so I did that excessive standoff just to make sure that it doesn't bump when it's returning to that location. All right, moving on over to the D1 Pro. This is going to be the settings that I run for it. And if you'll notice, just like the other two, I've got a return to finish position set, and I use 4 and 4. And that is to make sure that it doesn't touch the limit switches. Because when I'm doing jigged items, I prefer for it not to touch the limit switches. Okay, another big thing that people ask a lot about the D1s is the laser offset. You can set the D1 to use the blue dot for framing, which some people prefer. If you do so, you have to disable the pointer offset right here. All right, then you have to enable laser on when framing right here. Then you have to go over here to this setting and make sure that the setting here is adequate enough that you're going to be able to actually see that dot. Because with some modules, you go too low. If you go less than like 1%, you can't see it, but you don't want to go too high or you will actually affect the material. So those are some of the big things that I get asked a lot. All right, another one that is kind of on the list of things I get asked a lot is, what is the difference between absolute coordinates and current position, and when do you use what? All right, absolute coordinates basically means that the machine is going to assume that it is at home when you power it up, so you're going to want to make sure it's at home it, and then you can jig things out and it'll return back to that position. You jig things out, it'll return back to that position. If you set like I do, where you've got that standoff up here, This basically just makes the X and Y axis, and the machine tries to stay inside those bounds. Now, doing large items and stuff like that, what I usually run is current position, and right here on this little dice looking contraption, you're going to want to select the center dot typically. If you have, let's assume that you have a piece of material in here that is square, like so. All right, you're going to want to mark the center of that material with a measuring tape and a pencil, whatever. You can do the cross from the sides and where they intersect. However you want to do that, just locate the center of your material. Make sure that your material is square with the axis of the machine. I do so by using my squaring jig on my machine to make sure that, boards or tile or whatever is square. Then you're going to want to take and move the laser over until, whether it's the crosshair or whether it's the laser dot, you're going to want to have whatever your pointer apparatus is centered on the center of the workpiece. Then when you lay your design into the software, it is going to show you, I'm pretending that the black is my workpiece and this is my burn. So when you put your design into the workspace, it's going to assume that your laser is here in the center because you've got it set to current position and you've got it centered. And when the machine starts to move, it's going to move out to these areas to make these burns. And then once it finishes, it's going to go back to the center. So that's the big difference between the current position and absolute coordinates. You can do user origin, but that's a whole nother bucket of worms there. And we're not going to go into that. But these are just some of the things that I get asked a lot, guys. And I hope that, maybe some of this stuff will help. The only other big thing that people ask a lot is about running multiple instances of Lightburn with multiple machines. And I can vouch for the fact that I have ran up to 5 instances of Lightburn and actively burn items from the same machine. Now, your machine is going to need to, it's going to need to not be a pushover of a machine. It's going to need to have a little power. Because if you get too much going on a lot of laptops, it could result in a crash and problems with your design. All right, guys, I hope that was informative for some of you. Most of you probably already knew all those little hidden little things. They're not really all that hidden, but it does seem that those are the things that elude most people. I get asked those questions a lot. And I just want to kind of throw a little quick video out there. Like I said, there are guys out there that do some really great in-depth Lightburn how-to tutorials. And, this isn't going to be one of those. I just wanted to do a quick little rundown of where those things are located because I do get asked those questions a lot. And, of course, I want to try to help you guys out. And just trying out the new gear, too, and seeing how it does, what kind of video quality I can get out of it. So, but that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Like I said, inside the house, just kind of messing with the computer, trying to learn this Fusion 360. Getting better, but still got a ways to go. And I'm waiting to order my 3D printer until after I get to where I can design my own projects. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks for stopping by, guys. And until next time, as always, be safe and have a good day.